Let me find
And
this.
rolling.
Well, hold on.
Oh,
41.3. All right.
so Lance, there was a beautiful portraits that were released a couple weeks ago. The unveiling of the Obama and Miss Obama portraits. Did you see them? Paintings.
It was just one more of the final insult from Obama to the American people. He's a saboteur. He was raised by communists in order to, and at heart they want to destroy all tradition. And so this painting was a way of spitting in the American public's face a final time, even after he left office.
Oh, he also went like kite surfing after he was. That's probably more spitting. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. The paintings are done by black artists, and they're
Incompetent black artists.
Right.
By design.
Well, Lance, you have a right to your opinion, and especially as an artist, but I would just disagree, and I would quickly disagree with you that it's not a conspiracy by Obama to pull down America's pants. But to get back,
Stop moving your head.
Real
Right.
quick, Lance, America wants to know, how do you feel, did that painting of Michelle Ackerley, was that like art to you?
No, as I say, Obama will do anything to destroy the traditions of our country, and this is a way of poking America in the eye. Just saying, look, I care so much that my painting is hanging next to slave owners like Washington and Jefferson that I'll have this piece of garbage painted.
have you seen the paintings? They're pretty. They're pretty. They're pretty paintings.
Yeah, I would use them for toilet paper. That's how cruddy they are.
All right, back to now. President Grant had a notoriously corrupt administration. I don't think Grant himself was particularly corrupt. Harding had perhaps the most corrupt cabinet in history, right? You know history.
I would love to have Grant right now, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Instead of Obama,
Yeah,
Grant would have been a giant.
But wouldn't you say that even if the president himself is not involved in the corruption, wouldn't you want to know and have the corruption rooted out if everybody around the president or a significant number of people around the president are compromised? Or are you just going to say, all right, whatever, it's just business as usual? So what I'm saying is, if Manafort never pins anything on Trump, but he finds a bunch of other people who are compromised or complicit or somehow tangled up with an enemy foreign government, or other deals that may leave them open to blackmail or whatever, wouldn't you want to know that?
Well, I mean, if a presidential candidate was able to ship 20% of America's uranium to Putin, I'd certainly be very concerned about that. I would say that Putin would use that person
this
as an
is
ally.
A, whataboutism, and B, no uranium left the country.
Yes, no, it did.
I know it went to Canada and for
and it went to
refining,
Europe.
and then it came back
went to,
here.
No, it went to Europe, possibly Asia. Yeah. And it's a strategic resource. And it
is a
doesn't bother you one bit. You're worried about Manafort's business deal. Manafort had some business deals. You're worried about that, but you're not worried about selling uranium to Putin? And you think Putin would rather deal with Trump than Hillary after he bought 20% of the United States' uranium, when his goal was to
whataboutism and uranium.
An FBI informant working with Roscom said that they were trying to corner the uranium market, and Hillary helped them. That doesn't bother you.
Did they corner the uranium market?
Yeah, they got control over a tremendous amount of uranium.
Uranium is a commodity.
Wait. They got control of Kazakhstan's because Bill Clinton went there and talked with the president of Kazakhstan. They got control of their own. They have 3 times the uranium we have, and now they've got 20% of ours. Why? What is the matter with you, Rick? You're worried about some little business deal that Manafort may have had before he met Trump? And you're not worried about the sale of strategic resources?
$30 million of money laundering by Manafort. Uranium's a commodity.
I don't care
it's
about
traded.
Manafort's money laundering. I don't give a shit. Not only do I not give a shit, but he says he didn't do it. But we know that Hillary did this with the uranium.
No, we don't.
Yeah, no, we've got the paperwork.
It's horse crap.
It's not horse crap.
No,
We've got an FBI informant.
Now you're just lying. Now you're just fucking okay.
My integrity has been challenged.
One compromised informant said
What do
that
you mean
Hillary
one compromised
a
informant?
guy whose testimony we're rehashing old shit, but an informant whose testimony has been thrown out of other cases is the one guy who says that Hillary may have had something to do with.
What do you want? What do you want? The Pope? You want some? I mean, let me ask you a question. Do you really think
A lobbyist-
that CNN and the Democrats are going to say we can believe this guy? Yeah. He's an FBI.
All right, so-
he's an undercover FBI guy.
A lobbyist
who's
for Rosner.
Yeah, and he was risking his life. If Putin had found out about him, they'd have killed him. He risked his life, but you don't believe him. You think he's compromised.
What I don't like.
And wait, there's more. Not only did he risk his life, but he was on the payroll of the FBI right up until the point that he presented this information, and he stopped.
I'll say it again. This is like the 8th time we've brought up this horse crap. Read about Uranium One yourself. Get an unbiased, or as unbiased as you can get by reading about.
You're not biased.
I'm saying, just look at a number of different sources. But we can't keep talking about frickin' you. It's your favorite whataboutism, and your point of view is twisted.
Well, no. You know what? I'm really worried because before Trump, before Manafort met Trump, he had some business dealings that Mueller doesn't like. He says he didn't do it.
And while he was working for Trump, according to the newest indictment.
I'll have to read that. I'll have to read that. But frankly, I just think you're grabbing at straws. Your desperation not to accept the results of the election has gotten the better of you and Mueller.
How do you feel about the 12 indictments of the Russian bot?
Well,
13
it's even more proof because they were indicted. They were indicted for things that had nothing to do with Trump. Again. And by the way, why didn't they indict Putin for this? Why stop there? Why indict some low-level people?
Well, I don't know that, I mean...
Wouldn't Putin be the ultimately the person responsible?
Yeah, if you can prove the connection, but I don't know that
What if you can prove the connection?
Well, it seems like they're methodically proceeding. But Mueller and his 19...
Yeah, they got nothing. They got nothing. It's a witch hunt.
Except 22 people or companies indicted.
22 companies that had nothing to do with Trump. It's disgusting, Rick. It's pathetic. It's not going to help you. You won't be able to impeach Trump. This is just bullshit. Why don't you come up with one fucking thing about Trump colluding with Russia? One thing.
Wait and see. Interesting survey came out. About once a year, they ask a bunch of academics, liberal, middle of the road, and conservative, to rank all the presidents in history.
Oh God, I'm dying to know what they decided. Go ahead.
Liberal academics, 170 of them all combined, decided that, all of them combined, the combined rating of all of them, has Trump by a wide margin being the worst president in history. Liberals find him to be dead last. Independents find him to be the 5th worst president, and conservatives find him to be the 2nd worst president.
You know what an argument from authority is?
Yeah.
What?
You say, well, these people said this, and so I'm arguing on behalf of those authorities.
Right. It's meaningless argument. When they teach you logic and debate, they say an argument from authority is virtually meaningless. You have to have facts that back it up. There are no facts that back up that Trump is the worst president in history. There are no facts. It's just a mood, okay? And these assholes said it.
170 assholes.
Yeah, there are a lot of assholes.
who graded him according to about 8 different criteria.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. I still haven't forgiven Obama for 200,000 deaths of civilians.
Whataboutism. It's
You know what?
awesome
No, but we're
whataboutism.
talking about the worst president in history. You know, it's funny.
They
2 weeks ago, I was fighting with liberals because they were telling me what a sweet, loving, wise man Obama was, because he's not the worst president in history. And I pointed out to him, you know what? Because of Obama, 150,000 civilians were tortured to death. But I was wrong. They challenged me. They said, you're wrong. Obama would never do such a thing. Oh no, I looked it up. It was over 200,000. An extra 50,000 I hadn't counted, because I hadn't counted all the deaths that ISIS performed in Syria and Libya, and all the deaths because of the Libyan overthrow, and all the deaths that are going to occur, that are still occurring in Iraq, because ISIS hasn't been completely wiped out. The only president in history to deliberately lose a war and cause 200,000 civilians to be tortured to death in the most gruesome possible ways. And you have the audacity to tell me that anything Trump did compares to that.
Worst president.
Rolling.
Okay, 41.4. All right, so I'm rebutting Obama, 200,000 dead from ISIS and in Syria and Libya. And it's hard to completely guess what would happen in an alternate history, but it seems to me that there's plenty of blame to go around, and that if we hadn't gone into Iraq in 2003 and 2004, none of the subsequent, or much less of the subsequent instability and carnage happens. Now, you still have Hussein in power and his 2 a-hole kids, raping, but the rate at which he was killing his own people, you probably still have fewer dead people if we hadn't had the Iraq War started.
He was killing about 200,000 people a year of his own people.
No, that's not that many.
Well, it might have been only 100,000. I could be off by a bit. But he was killing his own people. But you see, you fall into the same exact trap that every Democrat falls into. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Bush was an evil person and the war was wrong. It doesn't matter. Obama had a choice.
Only certain things matter. That we
No,
spent
no.
$3 trillion
Obama had
on
a
the war.
choice. He could leave a base there to keep the peace, or he could pull them out and get 250,000 people killed.
So it doesn't matter what Bush did.
No.
It only matters
No,
what
it
Obama
doesn't. No,
did.
it doesn't. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
But 2 wrongs are still 2 wrongs.
Well,
Bush wrong,
Yeah.
Obama wrong.
I understand, but what I'm saying is that for Bush, it was a very complicated situation. For Obama, it was very simple. The war had been won. I just have to leave a base here of 20,000 men, which I could easily do, and withdraw 160,000, and 250,000 people get to keep their lives. But he chose he chose not to.
So 2 presidents screwed up, Bush and Obama.
Yeah, but there's a difference.
One of them is Democrat and the other one is Republican.
The situation for Bush was very complicated. The situation for Obama was very simple. There was no risk to the American army. The American army was safe. Nothing bad could happen. The only thing that could go wrong is pulling out the troops and 250,000 people being killed. If he'd left them there, there would have been no problem. It was not a...
It went up to 250,000. 5 minutes ago, it was 200,000.
Well, it depends. You could include 50,000 ISIS fighters if you were really humanitarian.
Oh, so now you're a humanitarian? What,
I'm just giving you the numbers, okay? There are approximately 50,000 Iraqi Kurdish troops, about 150,000 Iraqi and Syrian civilians, Kurdish, Yazidi, Christian civilians,
And then 50,000
tortured to death,
ISIS dudes.
and then 50,000 ISIS dudes that wouldn't have been there. So my point is that all Obama had to do was nothing. Just had to say, you know what, I'll leave a few guys there. Very simple. Whereas Bush had to win.
20,000 is a few.
Yeah, 20,000 was enough. We have bases of 20,000 in a variety of places, a lot of places. It's not a big deal. He could have brought 4/5 of the troops home. That way we wouldn't be in Iraq. We'd just have a base there to keep the peace.
Of 20,000 people.
Yeah, it's okay.
That the government didn't want, that the Iraq, I know we don't have to follow what the Iraqi government
No, we
did,
don't.
But
And besides, I'd rather spend the money and keep the 20,000 guys there and keep the 250,000 people from being tortured to death.
all right, so at this point,
Yeah.
since we've talked of this,
And wait.
no, let's move on to the next thing.
Okay.
I'm not going to fight you on that.
Okay.
Because I already said my deal, you said your deal. What's
Okay.
the, do we have, give us some, either we end or you give us some more stuff to talk about?
I don't. Do you want to? Do you want to just? Do you want to comment on the hashtag Me Too or anything like that? Where that's going with the Oscars around the corner?
All right, the Oscars are in what, 2 weeks? I mean, I'm okay with,
Look at me, please.
okay. I'm okay with the new standard of you know, of not, you know, standing for sexual harassment. The latest thing to come out is Brendan Fraser. The
Ooh, I never liked him.
oh, come on, you did. He was fun in George of the Jungle, Encino Man, The Mummy.
I knew he was a bad one.
No, he's a good one. He's a good one. Oh wait, you don't even know what the story is. The story is.
I'm just joking.
Okay, the story is that he was at
Don't move your head,
some
please.
industry party, and I believe the head or some honcho in the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, that gives out the Golden Globes, pinched his ass and rammed his finger and swirled it around Brendan Fraser's taint. This was in like 2000 or 2003.
Can you explain to the viewing audience what a taint is?
It taints your balls and it taint your a-hole. It's in between. It's the very sensitive bridge area. And Brendan Fraser was so shocked and hurt and taken aback that, I mean, it really rocked him. And he complained to the Hollywood Foreign Press, and they didn't do much, and it really disheartened him. The same way, it turns out that even a manly man, he was the manliest of men back then, when you get your parts fiddled with, it screws you up.
Don't move your
All
head.
right, it made him sad, and it affected his career. Same for Terry Crews.
What do you mean it affected his career?
He got bummed out, and it was a bunch of stuff that added up to a sadness about what he was doing, and he had eventually, you know, he didn't exactly withdraw from acting, but he was playing all these He-Man parts, and he was getting beat up physically. He was getting all these injuries from having to, you know, and then this on top of it kind of made him, and having to, you know, get all these operations to repair the physical damage. Everything kind of made him, and he had, at some point he got a divorce, and just the whole thing was all part of an overall sadness that, in case you wondered why you haven't seen Brendan Fraser much recently, it's because he was beaten up and he got his taint poked by a Golden Globes guy. And it's the same for Terry Crews, who's a former NFL football player, the old Spice guy and the guy in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, a mountain of a man. a writer, an actor.
Don't move.
All right, he got his parts fiddled. I think he got felled up by some Hollywood type, and it rocked him too, even though he's the manliest of men, a football player with pecs like this thick. So anyway, I'm okay with the current atmosphere of, like, if you sexually harass anybody, man or woman, it's not going to be acceptable anymore. And I'm just happy I'm on testosterone blockers, that if I'd ever had any urge to sexually harass people, and I don't really, because I learned early that a lot of the sexual harassers think they're just like slick dudes who ladies like. And they just go in and they're like, yeah, she liked it, she wanted it. I learned early on that nobody wanted whatever I was trying to sell. So my early lack of success with girls, it kind of trained me to not think that any kind of what might be construed as sexual harassment would be successful. And I've been married now for nearly 27 years, and I'm on testosterone blockers, which may reduce my libido. So, like, I'm fine. Like, in terms of, I'm not gonna, the worst thing I might do is overshare to the point of people finding it icky.
I feel violated by the things you just said.
Yeah.
I have to say, this even on this set, I feel there's been a lack of boundaries, and I'm a little traumatized by it. Is there anything else?
Yes. Anything on the Olympics? Any comments? Lindsey Vonn, Patriot?
Well, I like Lindsey Vonn, because she's old and I'm old, and I like when an old has success.
How old is she?
She's either 32 or 36, I forget. But for skiing, somebody who's had her, she's been more beaten up than Brendan Fraser.
And I would have gone out with her if you hadn't told me all that.
Oh, well. All right, I don't know if we have anything more to say about the Olympics.
And then lastly, the audience wants to know, we never talk about your favorite kind of music. You're a Sinatra guy, are you a Billy Joel guy, Michael Jackson, a Bieber guy? We'll toss this one to Lance first.
Favorite music is Roxy music, Brian Ferry, and David Bowie.
My favorite is Prince, because his stuff is real thumpy. I like anything that's got a thumpy beat to it, so I know what to move to. And I had some of my greatest moments of almost picking up a woman dancing in bars in the 80s. I'd ask a woman to dance, and then I'd dance like crazy, and we'd go for 3 songs, and then...
Oh, Rick can actually dance. Have you danced in the show yet?
No, but I mean...
Let's do that next week.
No, let's not... Okay, all right.
All right.
But, and then after dancing, I didn't know what to do next. I couldn't talk to girls. All I could do was dance with them, and then we'd get all sweaty, and I'd be like, thank you, and then I'd leave the girl all sweaty and weirded out on the dance floor.
They don't care if you're sweaty if you're also attractive,
Yeah, well, I didn't have that either. So, anyway,
All right.
the end.